Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Welcome back to my channel. It's week 2 of Junk Journal July, and I did another little overview of my pages for the week. And our first day, day 8, is brown paper. And so you can see here, I just grabbed some of that. It's like painter's masking tape that I think I'm using. And I decided I wanted to make a pocket out of it. So I love pockets, and so I just took this little piece of paper, cut it down, or tore it down to size, I should say, and then kind of just crumpled it up, and I'm making it into a pocket. So I've already started grabbing some things that I wanted to decorate it with. So I'm looking through some of my ephemera holder. I added some torn book page you can see there. So now I'm just kind of looking for some additional items to decorate that pocket with. So I found a little Tim Holtz label there, and then I found some washi tape that I thought would be fun to kind of add a little bit of interest. And then after I get all this glued down, I found myself looking for something to put on the left-hand side of that pocket. So back to my ephemera holder, and I thought a little bouquet of flowers might be fun there. So I added that into there. And then I'm gluing down the pocket, and I'm just going to add a tag that I had available to this page to kind of finish it off. So I found this fun one with a parrot there, and I thought that he looked cute sticking out of the pocket. All right, now we're on to day 9, and day 9's prompt is balance. And so I went looking for, I don't know what, just some images that I could find. And I found this old magazine advertisement image of this woman here, and I love that she kind of had her hand sticking out. And then as I was looking in an old encyclopedia that I had, I found this little globe in there, and I thought it would be really fun to have it look like she was balancing on top of it. So I fussy cut them both out, and then I'm just checking to make sure that that's working the way I think it's going to work. I found this little sort of orangey gold gauzy material that I thought I would put under the world, and then I just glued both of them down right into the middle of the page to kind of have her balancing right there on top of the world. And then because I was thinking that the whole time I was putting that together, I thought I would add some words to it. And I'm putting sitting on top of the world as my words that I'm going to put on this page just to kind of add some more to it. Now, as I was going through and stamping them, you can kind of see the first word sitting there had a lot of, I don't know, edges that got stamped, so I stamped it twice to kind of fix that. I didn't like the first sitting that I did there. So now I'm just tearing each piece out so that I can put them individually onto the page. I'm making sure they fit where I want them to fit if I need to tear them down anymore. And then I'm just gluing them all on. And then the last part of this page, I just wanted to add a little something extra to have those words pop, since the page that I stamped them on and the background page are kind of the same color. I just came in with kind of an orange marker and added some dots around each of the words so that they would show up a little better. All right, we are on to day 10, and we are doing the prompt stripped back. And as I was thinking about this, I was kind of thinking of just kind of making sort of a, a torn frame or something that kind of felt like it was peeled back off of a picture underneath. So I grabbed this fun mushroom illustration from a book that I had, and then I took some marbled paper that I had, and I thought I would just put some distress on the back, but I decided in the end that I wanted the whole thing to be covered. I didn't really want any of that white to be showing through. So I just backed the marbled paper with some more of that painter's masking tape that I seem to be using a lot of. Good thing I have a whole roll of it. And then I'm just trying to decide, okay, how do I want to do this? So I just cut in the middle of that paper, and then I started stripping back the paper that was on there. So now I'm gluing down my mushroom, and then I'm going to glue down the stripped back frame that I have on top of it. And then I'm also, of course, going to add some additional ephemera or something to it. Now I thought it would be nice to have sort of a contrasting color on here, so I picked out that butterfly that was kind of a different color. and then just a little stamp that I had in my ephemera there. And I thought it would be fun to add a little tab to this page too. So I pulled that out of my stash that I already had there. That's one of the things I love about Junk Journal July is that you can really go through some of your stash items um, as you're doing these different pages. So now here I'm adding a little bit more tearings as I'm pulling back the frame, and you can kind of see how the brown paper is showing through now, and I really like how that turned out. So now I'm just gluing down my extra bits here. I'm putting on the tab that I had just at the top of the page there to have something extra, and I am gluing down my butterfly that is a nice contrasting color, and I love the way this page turned out. All right, we made it to day 11, and this is the prompt paper samples. And I love paper samples, so I just pulled out some papers, some different papers. I pulled out a sales check here, some ledger paper, some book page paper, and I just started tearing and gluing just in sort of a random pattern all over the paper that I started working on. So I love the sales check there has that fun number up in the corner. So I wanted to be sure that was showing. So I have all those glued down, and then I just thought I would use some gesso with my fingers to just kind of pull everything together. And I'm using a little baby wipe there to kind of take some of it off to make sure my numbers and thing are showing the way I wanted them to. So now I'm just taking a little bit of coffee dye that I'm going to spread around on that gesso and add some vintage feel to it. I'm adding some splatters. I did let the splatters dry and then added even more splatters because I love the way splatters look when they kind of have a dark outlined edge. And so now for my paper samples, I took my circle die cut and I cut a circle for every size that I had in different paper scraps. And I just am adding them all together in kind of a bullseye pattern there. And I love the way this looks. It's so much fun to put them all down and kind of just see a little bit of each one peeking out there. And then I just decided to do some random writing on the page there. I wasn't crazy about how that turned out, but we're going to let it go. And then as I was looking through my ephemera holder, I found these little scraps of paper, little paper samples of some jelly prints that I had done and cut out kind of in leaf patterns and then made them into stickers. And I thought these would be really fun around the bullseye that I had created. So I just cut them. Some of them I had to cut down, some of them worked just perfectly, and I just put them all in there. And I really like the contrasting color of the blue with some of the oranges and the yellows that I have going on in the bullseye. And then I'm just adding some marks around to make them, those little leaves stand out a little bit. So some dots and some scribbles just to kind of make everything pop. And I'm really liking this page so far. I wasn't sure when I first started how I was going to feel about it, but I'm liking it now. So I like that feeling. And of course, I'm just adding a couple of extra little labels and things to the page to kind of finish it off. And I will even put some more marks around these to kind of make those end pieces pop. All right, it's day 12 and our prompt is gratitude. And I did struggle with this one a little bit. I felt like I was, kind of going back and forth trying to figure out what to do with it. But in the end, I think it turned out pretty nice. So I have this old postcard that I cut down to kind of fit on that page. And then I added some ribbon. I sewed it onto the edge of the postcard. And I found this old lace that I thought I would make into a pocket. So it fit the page pretty well, and I just added some glue and left the left side open so I could slide in my postcard um, when I was done there. And I thought I would put my gratitude on the back. But as I was looking at it, I kind of decided that the postcard was a little small for that pocket. So I grabbed some of my ledger paper that I have here and I cut it down so that it was bigger than the postcard, but still small enough to fit into that pocket. And I thought I would make sort of a frame out of the ledger paper on the back of my postcard. So I did think, well, I'm going to I want to attach the postcard, and I'll use maybe a hinge like I do. So you could just sort of flip it open and write things on the back there. But my ribbon was getting in the way, so the hinge wasn't working the way that I wanted to. So I abandoned that idea and went and grabbed a little brad, and I just punched a hole in both of the papers, added the brad so you could swing the postcard out of the way, and I really like the way that turned out. And then for my final step, I just wanted to add the word grateful on there. And so I started from the right side of the page and stamped backwards to make sure that it would fit on the page. I didn't want to run off, the end with my stamps. And then I added my date and I called this one good. All right, day 13 is details. And I was kind of struggling with what I wanted to do for this page. So I was just looking through my stash of different papers and things that I had, and I found this jelly printed piece that was pretty dark. And I thought maybe I could, do something with this. So I ended up just adding like about 2-inch squares in kind of a diagonal pattern over the jelly print. And then I thought, well, I'll just do a little design in each one. So I love doing kind of doodles or tangles or however you want to call that. And I find this is an exercise that's very relaxing as well. So I thought, well, I always do these with a lot of detail, so this might be fun for my detail page. So I'm just adding different doodles. The first one was a bunch of circles. The second one was just a bunch of stars. The next one was just kind of loopy lines with scribbles on top. This one, I'm just adding some dots to each of sort of the corners of every square there. And as I was doing this, like I really wasn't trying to, come up with anything too fancy. This is probably the most fancy one I did, these dots with kind of these swirly lines on it. But I just wanted to have each of the squares have a lot of stuff in them with a lot of detail. So I really was leaning into my mark making for this. So I was using dots and lines and swirls and stars and all kinds of things for this. So I really enjoyed this process, believe it or not. I do love doing this, and I really like the end product, how you can see some of that dark page coming through at the end, but yet the white pen on top really gives a lot of contrast there to the details that are in each one of these squares. So I also love using this white pen that I have there. I think it shows up really great on dark pieces. And so that was really fun for me to really use that well on this detail page. All right, now that all my squares are filled in, I just wanted to take some of the edges off to make sure it would fit in my journal, and I'm going to be adding it to the journal. I, of course, put my date on, and I did find out after I was doing this that it kind of was a little bit wide for the journal. It was sticking out a lot, so I ended up tearing off even some of that right-hand side. But I'm just using some masking tape here to add it into the journal. When I made my journal, I wanted to be sure that I had room to do this kind of thing because sometimes I like to create outside of my journal, and then I just added it into the journal and it was good to go. All right, day 14, our prompt is torn, and this is the last prompt for the week. And this one, I kind of wanted to add kind of a kintsugi feel to this journal page. So kintsugi is a Japanese art of embracing imperfection, where they take porcelain pieces that have been broken and piece them back together um, with gold in the cracks to kind of highlight where the breaks are. So I was kind of going to do that with paper here, and I found this in a book of paintings. These two little boys here, it looks like having some lunch or a snack or something there. And I found the page of my journal that I wanted to use, and I got some of this um, like a metallic bronze acrylic paint, just something simple there, and painted it all over the page and then let that dry. And then I tore up my painting here um, in big enough pieces that I could get it back together. But I wanted to, have some space in between where my bronze would show through. So I also tried to tear it so that I wasn't actually tearing over their faces or anything, so you could really get a good feel for the painting once it was sort of back together. So now I'm just gluing it down, putting it back together, and you can see that the tears there, the bronze metallic paint is showing through, and I really love how that looks. So I'm just kind of, making sure there's enough space between each of the pieces so that you can see some of that bronze. And then after I did that, I kind of went back in with the bronze paint and just added a little more to where maybe the pages were white, just to kind of be sure there was enough metallic gold paint kind of showing through. And I really had fun with this page, and I love the way that it turned out. And that's our week 2 of Junk Journal July. I had so much fun with these prompts as well, and I'll be back again next week for the 3rd week. I hope that you'll join me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I hope you do that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.